1940s, Russian researchers conducted 15-day sleep experiments on 5 political prisoners captured during World War II. The purpose of the experiment was to keep the subjects awake for 15 days in rooms with constant oxygen levels by giving them stimulating gases and to observe changes in their behavior. The subjects were placed in a room with enough food and water to sustain them for the duration of the experiment, rested with microphones and watched through observation windows no larger than 5 inches. The room was bare, except for books, cots, and a toilet. Everything was fine for the first 5 days. Although the subjects were told that they would be free once the research was over, after the 5th day, they started questioning the researchers and complaining about the conditions. They stopped talking to each other and started whispering into microphones. The researchers considered this a side effect of the gas. On day 9, one of the subjects started screaming. After 3 hours of screaming, the researchers noticed that his voice was hoarse and thought that his vocal cords might have been torn. The other subjects continued to whisper into the microphones with no reaction. A few hours later, another subject started screaming. The other subjects then tore the books in the room into pieces and began rubbing the pages on their faces and sticking them to the observation windows. The screams then stopped. For 3 days, the room was silent. On the 14th day, the researchers decided to enter the room to check the microphones. When they announced that the doors of the room would be opened, the response was, "We don't want to be free anymore," and they decided that the troops should evacuate the experimental room. When the soldiers entered the room, they were astonished by what they saw. The food in the room was almost untouched. One of the subjects was dead and lying on the drain in the room. Because the drain was blocked, there was a 4-inch high pool of blood on the floor. The other subjects were screaming and screaming. Their bodies were torn to pieces. The skin on their stomachs was so damaged that their internal organs were visible, and they were all resisting the soldiers to stay in the room. In the confusion, one of the subjects' spleen ruptured, and he died. The other 3 subjects, who ripped the throat of one of the soldiers who tried to take them out, and the testicles of another, were admitted to medical centers and tried to be treated, but they refused to sleep and demanded to be gassed to stay awake. After the subjects were operated on without anesthesia, they were taken back to their rooms to be gassed again. They calmed down when they learned that they would be gassed. One of the subjects fell asleep during this time. He died as soon as he woke up. The military authorities decided that the experiment was misguided and that the researchers should be punished by being locked up with the subjects. When the researchers arrived at the section with the subjects, they killed them and then committed suicide. What one of the subjects said before dying was extremely frightening. "Have you forgotten so easily? We are you. We are the madness inside you, begging to come out of your animal urges. We are the monsters that hide under your beds every night. Don't forget to follow, please."